Hi, family. Welcome back to another episode of What's Your Journey? I'm Jordan Thorpe, and today we have a special guest with us. Her name is Lauren Porter, and I'm so happy that she was able to join us. We had to reschedule a few times because of conflicting schedules, but she's here today. And just a little fun fact about Lauren and I, we actually went to middle school together.
Yes.
At Greater Works Academy. So Laura and I kind of go way back. And so I'm glad that she's able to be a part. So Lauren, introduce yourself and just tell us who you are.
Yeah. Hi, guys. My name is Lauren Porter, as Jordan said. I currently live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I have a 3-year-old going on 30-year-old son who is the joy of my life.
Yeah.
And I partly stay at home, and on the weekends, I'm a freelance makeup artist. So that is me. That's what I do.
That is so fun. So Lauren, tell us about your journey. Like I saw you on Instagram and I'm like, okay, she is posting spiritual, uplifting people. I'm like, I want to hear about her, like what led her to this part of her life. So can you like take us back a little bit of what led you down that road of just following God?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in a religious environment. My family was heavy in the church. I went to private religious schools my whole life.
Yeah.
So I always had that knowledge of God, that foundation of who He was. But, I also had a pretty broken home life.
Yeah.
My father was not around. There were different men kind of going in and out of my mother's life. So I never really had that stable home environment. And that, along with just me not really having a sense of self-worth due to other circumstances, just caused me to live a pretty wild life. I always battle with feelings of insecurity, depression. I started going to therapy on and off when I was about 15 years old. So, that kind of led to the beginnings of a pretty wild young adulthood, just kind of chasing a void. You don't know how.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know how to fill it, so you fill it with the ways that everybody else is. You party, you drink, you're smoking, you're sleeping around. I worked at urban clubs, so I did bottle service for that. So I was just in an environment that just didn't really promote a relationship with God, more or less even addressed it. And I ended up getting into a relationship with my child's father, and we're still together to this day. But our relationship was not rooted in good soil. We both were just kind of conflicted in what we wanted from each other in a relationship, in our lives in general. That, along with not really knowing how to be in a healthy relationship, led to the last part of my 20s being chaotic in a lot of ways, because not only was I trying to figure out who I was and the woman I was trying to be, but I also ended up getting pregnant with our son. So that was a really unexpected event that kind of began my descent into what I like to call like my black hole moment. Like, I didn't know who I was, right? I was upset at a lot of the decisions I had made in my life. And though I wasn't scared or upset per se that I was having a child, I was more so embarrassed by the fact that I didn't have much to give him. Foundationally, right? You always have this idea in your head of how you think your story's going to go. Like, I'm going to get married. We're going to live like this. I'm going to have this, and we're going to be happy doing this. And my life was the exact opposite of that at the time. So that led to more therapy, because I went through perinatal and postpartum depression. Conflicts in my relationship beginning to grow because I didn't know how to express my feelings in a way that felt heard. He didn't know how to really respond to me in that situation. I had lost my job prior to my pregnancy. I was doing makeup, but that wasn't bringing in any money. Everything was in an array. So my descent before my encounter with God actually.
And those are usually signs that God is trying to redirect you and to a different path. Like when things, I remember that point, numerous points where like things are just like, what's going on? And it was just like, okay, God's calling me over here. So I definitely can relate. Yeah.
And at the time, you're so stuck in trying to do things your way, you don't even realize, right? So after the birth of my son, I fell into the, what would we call it now? Like that love and light movement, right? The manifestation movement, the law of attraction, and the affirmations. I went waist deep into this because I was still looking for, I'm like, there has to be some relief from this. I refused to believe that it was just me going through a depressive episode again. Because the attack felt different, right? You go through personal struggles in your life, and you go through really hard moments that try you, and it's like something inside of you knows eventually you'll get over it. Or you'll get through it. But I was at a point where there was just like no relief on any side. And I kind of lived life like as a zombie, for almost 2 years. And around the end of October, 2019, I went to the hospital due to just some health issues I was having. And I found out at that appointment that I was 5 weeks pregnant. And where I was in my relationship at the time, and just where I was personally, that it broke me. It was the straw that broke the camel's back, because I had nothing. Like, I just had no willpower. I had no strength. Like mentally, I was like struggling with being a mom, which I had a support system around me. But when you internalize those feelings of failure, or those feelings of not being who you're expected to be, like it doesn't matter who kind of supports you. If you can't see that light at the end of the tunnel, it breaks you.
Yes, definitely.
So finding out I had another child on the way, it broke me. I didn't know how to feel. I just knew that at that point I didn't feel ready, and I went through all these emotions. Our relationship at that point had ended for some time, and in an emotional state, I made a decision to terminate my pregnancy. And that was the moment where I was just racked with so much guilt and shame and just disappointment in myself, that I found myself one night, and at this time I had moved back in with my parents. So I'm in my mother's basement, literally crying out to God. And it sobs, like a deep, nasty cry,
You needed that.
You needed it.
We need it.
It. Jordan, I remember being on the bed, it's pitch black in my room, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't. I don't know what to do. And it's like, I know you're here, but I don't feel you. Like if you're here, God, if this is really who you are, like, please, like, because I don't think I can make it anymore. And that began that transformation process. And I realized at that point, just starting out, my knowledge of who God was, who Jesus was, his position in my life, I realized how much I didn't really understand, right? You kind of grow up being educated about God. There's like heaven, there's hell, there's Jesus, he died. But I think
how does this apply to me in my life right now?
Right.
What I'm going through.
Because a lot of times you're not taught about a relationship, especially growing up in a Christian school. You're not taught about relationship with God. You're taught about the law of God, right? And you start to
religion, which is different. Religion. Because relationship with God is going to look different for everybody, because he created us differently.
Absolutely. And that was my first time understanding what a relationship with God meant. And I can honestly say, from October of 2019, October, November of 2019, literally till, I mean, up just that 2020, COVID was like a year that the pandemic happened and like so many things were devastated in the process. And for some reason, that time, that idleness, having to be home, like not really being able to get out and about and interact with people, it forced me into this intimate space with God. And when people talk about like, time, like a day to us is 1,000 years to God. And
Right.
this, you don't, living through what I call like just my rebirth, right? Last year, in and of itself, I experienced the power and the strength and the peace of God in a way that I never had in my life.
How did you experience it?
Just the term like just when your spirit, when you're filled with the Spirit or you're walking with the Spirit, I felt the presence of the Holy Spirit. It started with okay, I'm doing devotionals from the U Bible app, right? Because I'm like, I need to start somewhere. I don't even know how to begin reading my Bible. And then finding different pastors through YouTube, like Dr. Miles Monroe was instrumental to like a lot of the foundation of my relationship. He's great. Like he's so wise on top of like just really like digging deep into the Bible and trying to stay as true to interpretation as possible. But it just, my prayer life increased, which before I would pray, dear God, thank you for this. I pray, for protection over this, that, amen. But like just hour-long prayer, devotionals, just listening to worship music and just the way it
moves. Like you're in communion with him, and that's different.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just I could feel his presence. And that's something that I realized I never had before. That's what I was looking for, right? When you try to fill that void, there's a saying that's like everybody's looking for a spiritual answer, but a lot of people don't realize that's what they're trying to feel. Like when your spirit is not in line with God's will, when you're not seeking God, there's like an emptiness, a thirst, if you will, that there's just nothing can satiate it. And it wasn't until it was me and him, and I finally like got in my word, prayed, devoted time to praise and worship, that I had that feeling of peace in my spirit that no substance could give, right? You have, Jesus is the living water, right? And that's, I understood that in a way with just how he transformed my thinking and my heart. And that led to not my ministry per se, because I even with my lifestyle page, like I'm still a makeup artist, that's my career, but I know that my ministry can be in the women that I run across. But in regards to an online presence, it's just similar to Jordan's journey. There's women that can resonate with your story, and God put such a fire in me that it like made me just want to share, just for the love of who he is and how he's taken care of me and how he's been there for me, just to kind of put that out there so somebody can come across it and it influences them. And that's a shortish version of my story.
No, that's really good. And the thing with ministry, I think ministry is a lifestyle, something that we walk in every day, and it just happens to spill over to our family and the people we come encounter with, or social media, but so it can be any type of anything.
Right.
And that's just, thank you for sharing that. And I know like a lot of times I always heard the saying, like when you're down to nothing, God is up to something, and like just hitting that rock bottom. and it's like, we need to hit it. Like,
yep.
I remember hitting my rock bottom, but when I came out from that, it changed the whole trajectory of my life and what I was doing. So at the same time, it's like so painful, but it's so needed. Like, you needed that to experience the presence of God, what you're experiencing now. And yeah, that's just so amazing. So you have your lifestyle page. Where do you feel like you're headed with ministry, and where do you want to go? Where is God leading you with that?
Yeah, you know what, Jordan, I always felt that he placed in me a gift of discernment, and women, young women, seem to be the trajectory of who I'm supposed to connect with and talk to. My plan was never to kind of, I don't want to be the person walking across the stage giving the speeches, right? I want to be that voice that can penetrate the heart of that girl that's going to be at the club tonight, that's going to be doing things she knows she's not even deep down comfortable with, to try to achieve what someone may call success or position or status in the world. With my ministry, especially like talking about, you know, getting back into doing makeup full time as my career, I come across so many women, and
so many, and young women at that, who are probably on their way to the club or
somewhere. And the stories, you know, I don't know what it is, Jordan, but I've always had this type of relationship with people. People tell me all their business. You know what I mean? Like, they just feel at peace, like kind of venting to me. And before I even gave my life back to God, just there were so many times where women could be so vulnerable and raw and emotional with me, you know, while we're in this period of time where I'm, you know, getting them ready to like step out and face the world with a brave face, like with makeup. I knew that my heart was there for a reason. Like, I knew that I was having these experiences for a reason. So with Lifestyle by Lauren, it's just more so, you know, just showing my day-to-day life and being honest about my walk in faith. I still consider myself somewhat of a baby Christian. I'm maturing in my faith, but so many times the people we see online seem too together. That, to me personally, or you feel like there's no way my story would resonate, or oh, they're just trying to, you know, to get me to like this or share this. But I believe in just showing my everyday life, how I run my business, how God's helped me run my business, how God's changed my parenting style, how God's infiltrated my relationship. That's something that I believe young women, young Black women in particular, need to see, because I still know who I was before. So I can't condemn anybody or judge anybody for any decision they made that I walked through. If anything, I want you to know, sis, is better on the other side. And giving your life to God doesn't mean you lose something negative per se. I think a lot of people think a Christian or somebody who loves Christ is someone who walks stiff, you know, doesn't have a personality, doesn't like go through regular struggles, and that's not the thing. So if I can be that big sister type, or that person that someone sees my life and sees how I love God and sees how he's worked through my life, they'll see that like he feels the same way about them too. If that does that make sense? It's just kind of
And so if a young girl was listening who was kind of like, what is it, battling, straddling the fence. You know, just kind of like, I don't know about this God thing, but still doing what they want, doing this and that, but just kind of unsure, what would you say to her?
That's a good one. You can be unsure, right? Everybody has their journey, but God is so sure about you. So sure that before you even took a breath, Before your generation even came to pass, he made sure that whenever your heart was ready to cry out to him, that your ticket was paid. You were already saved. You were already redeemed. You were already valuable. And don't think because you're not living how you feel you should be living that God doesn't see you as being completely just capable of anything. You know what I mean? That he doesn't see you as perfection. He made you in perfection. So, you know, you can run if you want to. I can't change your steps, baby girl, but let me tell you something.
Yeah.
When that whisper is just in the back of your mind telling you to pray, or if something's telling you to put on that gospel song, or if something's telling you to watch that video, it may be him just trying to speak to you, and you just follow that intuition and just know you may not be ready now, but God's never not ready for you.
That's right.
He's never not ready for you.
Never not ready for you. Well, thank you so much for sharing. That was just so insightful, and I know that's going to encourage and inspire a lot of our listeners. And so we always do a journey takeaway at the end of each episode, just like a takeaway that you would want to leave our family who listens to the podcast. What would you want them to take away for their journey?
One thing that I would want any lady listening to take away is that you will always be precious to God. You are a daughter of the King, and there is literally nothing that you could do that would make him love you less. And he's our Father, and it's easy to kind of put this earthly, definition on that, but when you're crying, he's there. When you're sad, he's there. When you're happy, he's there. When you need advice, he's there. When you need direction, he's there. He's the ultimate Father, and never, ever, ever be ashamed to show him who you are and how you feel. He needs that. He needs that so he can begin that work in you. So just don't ever think you are not precious to God. That's the only thing you'll ever be to him. So, that, I don't know. That helps me. Hopefully that's going to hit somebody else.
That is so good. Thank you so much, Lauren, for sharing. And thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Again, my name is Jordan Thorpe, and make sure you like, comment, subscribe, leave us a positive review for the podcast, and follow us on our new Instagram page at Jordan's Journey Podcast _. We have stay updated. We have some giveaways coming. And thank you so much for tuning in. God loves you so much. Bye.
Thanks, Jordan.
Bye. Thank you.